Hi everyone, Amy here. I've decided to do something a little different with my YouTube channel. I've really been enjoying making videos, but with my health, I don't always have the energy to set up my green screen, put makeup on so I don't scare anyone, and sit in front of the camera. So I decided to do a series called Bedtime Musings, where I can record audio while I rest in bed. So I thought I would just do various topics, just maybe my musings for the day, what's going on in the world, living with a chronic illness, and movie reviews, just whatever strikes my fancy. So tonight I am going to review the movie Contagion from 2011 with Jude Law, Lawrence Fishburne, Gwyneth Paltrow, Kate Winslet, and some other people. So I tried to record this a few days ago, like right after I watched the movie, but I'm using some new screen recording app, and I got done with the whole thing and then realized that it stopped recording. So it could do this again tonight. I don't know, but I'm going to give it a shot. So it's been about a week since I watched it. So I may forget some things here and there, also with my brain fog. But if I do, I'll just add it into the description box, what I forgot. So I actually watched this while killing time, waiting for a toilet paper delivery. Yeah, that's where we are in the world right now. It is April 7th, 2020 in real life, and the coronavirus, the novel coronavirus, COVID-19, is going on. So I thought that I would watch the movie because I didn't see it when it came out in 2011. 2011 was one of my worst years ever, and I just wasn't up for watching something doom and gloom. But now, with the given state of the world right now, I thought I would watch it. I've had an interest in viruses and disease for years now, mainly because I became disabled with a virus in 1993. When I went to a rock concert, I came down with a mono-like virus, and now all of these years later, I'm still disabled with it. So, I've had an interest in the topic. So one of my previous videos where I was just giving my thoughts on the coronavirus, I talked about the book The Coming Plague, which was published in, I believe, 1995, and I read quite a bit of it. And I think one thing the movie did a really good job of showing was how easily and quickly a virus can be transmitted. Like in the book, the preface was talking about how in this day and age we are super mobile. We can be in several cities in one day, so a virus can spread super quickly. And I think the movie did a really good job showing that. So spoilers, because I'm going to, give you a little synopsis of the movie as well. So if you haven't seen it, you might not want to listen to this. It's up to you. So the movie starts out on day 2, which I thought was kind of interesting until, towards the end, you see why it started on day 2. But Gwyneth Paltrow's character is in the Chicago airport on a layover from a business trip from Hong Kong. And she is meeting her former lover that we find out just a little bit later. But she's coughing, and she's obviously coming down with something that she attributes to jet lag. Doesn't think anything more about it. She later comes home to Minnesota. So, like I said, she's been in Hong Kong, Chicago, and Minnesota. She comes home to her husband, Matt Damon's character, and her son and his stepson. And she becomes very ill, and within the next couple of days, she begins to have seizures, and he rushes her to the hospital, and she dies. Now, I know everybody grieves differently, and I'm sure Matt Damon's character was shell-shocked, but I didn't see a lot of emotion there, for him losing his wife so quickly. But anyway, she dies, and he receives a phone call from, I guess, the babysitter that his stepson is sick. So he rushes home, and the boy is already dead. So he's quarantined, Matt Damon's character, and they do an autopsy on Gwyneth Paltrow's character. I don't know, I can't remember if they did one on the stepson, but if they didn't, they should have. So when they're autopsying her, they open up her brain and look inside, and the coroner immediately tells his assistant to call the CDC. So I was hoping they'd go into a little more detail about what they saw. They only said that it was encephalitis, which is inflammation of the brain, but it would have been nice to know a little bit more of, in layperson terms, what he saw and what was going on. So they bring the CDC in. In the meantime, Matt Damon his character gets out of quarantine. And I really didn't have any major problems with this movie, just a few little details, like they say that he's immune to this virus. Well, I don't know how they can just say he's immune, he'll never get this, because what if the virus mutates, which it does end up doing? And isn't it possible that even if he doesn't become ill with it, can't he carry it? So I also didn't see the house being hosed down or anything, just in case. And his young daughter comes to stay with him. She's been living with her mother. So I don't see any kind of cleaning protocol going on. That was one of my little gripes, but nothing big. Overall, I really liked the movie. So anyway, the CDC is brought in, and they're trying to discover what this virus is. And while this is going on, you see shots of different places that Gwyneth Paltrow's character has been. Hong Kong, Chicago, whatnot. And you see other people that she's come in contact with contracting the virus and dying. So finally, through research, they discover that the virus is part bat and part pig. They have the genetics of both. So, and they discover that the virus is transmitted through what's called fomites, which are inanimate objects like doorknobs, drinking glasses, whatnot. So they start to try to race to find a cure, to find a vaccine for this, because it is super infectious, and people are dying. They're dropping like flies. I can't remember the end count, but it was in the millions. So, super infectious. So, they're trying to find a vaccine, and in the meantime, a lot of other things are going on, like the director. And I had a headache when I watched this, so it was hard for me to sometimes remember who was from what organization. Uh, and actually, one of the organizations was WHO, World Health Organization. So there's the director who was trying to go back through footage of I apologize, I don't have a script, and I can't see notes in the dark here while I'm in bed, so just bear with me. But anyway, she has them go back through the surveillance camera at the casino, the Hong Kong casino, where Gwyneth Paltrow's character has been. She ends up getting kidnapped by one of the government leaders, a politician in Hong Kong, because his whole village has been quarantined after the loss of his mother. So he keeps her prisoner until a vaccine is developed. So, like I said, people are dying left and right. The CDC recommends what's going on in the actual real world now: social distancing, frequent hand washing, and people are locked down. Meanwhile, Jude Law's character writes a blog. It's a conspiracy theory blog, but I always say it's not a conspiracy if it's true. But he says that he has the virus, or had the virus, and it was cured by the flower forsythia. Now, I'll try not to get into too much of my own opinion here, because that's a topic for another video. But I will say that he's discredited as being a conspiracy theory nut, and in my experience, the FDA is not going to approve anything that's natural, because there's no money in it. Money is strictly with pharmaceuticals. So, having been sick for so many years, I've actually been a victim of doctors pushing expensive, invasive treatments on me instead of natural treatments that could have worked. So, but he's discredited, and they're trying to bring him up on charges. People are clamoring to the pharmacy to try to get forsythia, and there's one scene where they're in the pharmacy, and the pharmacist comes out and announces there's only enough for 50 people. So people start pushing their way up to the window, and for some reason I was sad before. It was sad to see people die, but for some reason this scene just made me really sad, because it just illustrates how selfish people can be, and how it's all about them. So then food's being rationed off of trucks, and people are fighting and looting and breaking into houses. And this is something that I've feared for quite a while now in the real world, that if people get desperate enough and there's a shortage, they can start looting. I've actually seen real video of a couple walking into a store, taking whatever they want and leaving without paying. So I pray that we don't get to that point. But I always say prepare for the worst case scenario. So, and I've worried about people breaking into houses to get what they need. I actually had to call the police shortly after I watched the movie because I heard gunshots nearby at my house. Now, I can't say, that it was connected to the coronavirus and what's going on with people losing their jobs, but I can't say that it's not. In the last week, there have been at least 5 robberies in my town, 3 murders. One of the murder victims said that he had lost his job. There was a robbery before he was killed. That's why I'm not saying he was talking after he was dead, but he had lost his job and he began to sell drugs. So you can see how, if this keeps going on and people are losing income, how desperate people can be. I'm not an alarmist, but I actually do have a gun and I am stocking up on ammo because you just don't know. So anyway, they're rushing to get a vaccine developed. And, I kind of lost my train of thought there. So anyway, it's pandemonium in the world. And through the surveillance video that they're looking at in the casino, they can see all of the people that Gwyneth Paltrow's character, how she came in contact with the first few people who died of the virus. She's considered patient 0. So, in the beginning of the movie, they're showing how many places we go in a day, how many things we touch, and it really makes you stop and think. So, eventually, one of the doctors finds a vaccine that has worked on the monkeys, but she's desperate to go ahead and get that approved. So she ends up injecting herself with the vaccine, and she goes into a patient's room and she takes off her mask, and she's going to expose herself so she can get the virus. And then we find out that the patient in the hospital is actually her father, who's sick with the virus. So, and kind of to backtrack a little bit, the Lawrence Fishburne's character, who I believe is the director of the CDC, previously he had informed his girlfriend that she needed to get out of town and come to Atlanta, because he has inside information. So he's actually overheard by the janitor, and he's like, look, I have people too I want to keep safe. So the vaccine is developed, and people start receiving it, and because the janitor caught Lawrence Fishburne's character informing his girlfriend, Lawrence Fishburne's character makes sure that the janitor and his son get the vaccine, because there's a lottery process, kind of like in the short story The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. There's a lottery based on, I believe, your birthday, and only certain people will get the vaccine, right away. So I'm trying to remember if I've left out anything important. I don't think so. But if I can think of something that I left out, I surely will. So people are being vaccinated, and then one of the final scenes of the movie is a flashback to day 1. and we see a bat eating. Actually, the trees are being bulldozed that the bat is in, and it flies away. It's eating a banana. It drops a piece into a slaughterhouse with a bunch of pigs. A pig eats it. The pig is slaughtered and taken to the restaurant in the casino. The chef is preparing it. He doesn't wash his hands. He comes out and he greets Gwyneth Paltrow's character and shakes her hands. And that's how the virus began. So, with the actual coronavirus now in the real world, they believe the origins are possibly from a bat or a pangolin, not a penguin, but a pangolin, which is a type of anteater. And of course, there's some conspiracy theories as well that the virus was created in a lab. So again, it's a topic for another video. But I really think they did a good job with the movie. I believe it was extremely realistic. And it's kind of surreal that, to me, that I'm actually living to see a pandemic. So I don't know if anyone will enjoy these little bedtime musings, but at the very least, they're cathartic for me. I can just, I don't have to talk just to my dog anymore, or to Alexa or Siri or the TV. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I promise I'll get better at doing these. Thanks for listening.